Just as the roommate said that, another roommate said that he had also seen Chen Wei get up in the middle of the night, as if he were doing something. Several of us suddenly thought, this Chen Wei is not sleepwalking? But he didn't seem to have one before. After coming back from self-study in the evening, I met Chen Wei. I asked him what he saw that day, and he sat with me on the stone bench. I saw him shudder and light a cigarette, and then for a while he told me what had happened when he went in. When I went in, I saw that there were several empty beds inside, but in the corner, there was a bed that was not empty, and it seemed that there was a man lying on it, covered with a white sheet. I didn't know what was wrong with me, so I walked over, and I pulled the list gently, and guess what I saw? I saw a dead man, pale, with an open, black mouth, with an unbearable stench, with a ferocious face and staring eyes, looking at me wide. I saw my reflection in his eyes. I wanted to call out to you in shock, but I found that my throat was like a sugar stick, only a squeak, and no sound came out. I staggered to run out, but my legs went weak, and I collapsed on the ground, and for a long time could not come back to my mind. I had to crawl as hard as I could to the door and hold on to the edge before I stood up. Chen Wei was trembling as he spoke. I felt the horror, too. To our surprise, the more frightening thing is still to come. I told the others in the dorm about Chen Wei. That same night, in the middle of the night, except for Chen Wei sleeping, we all stared at the ceiling helplessly and suddenly heard a creak of the bed. Chen Wei got up from the bed and several of us looked at Chen Wei with our eyes. I got up and put on my clothes, got out of bed and put on my shoes, walked around in the bedroom, and stood in the window for a while. All of us were afraid to get out of bed, but we just gently shouted to Chen Wei. He did not respond. We know Chen Wei was sleepwalking again. Suddenly, Chen Wei opened the door and went out. We panicked and got up quickly to see where Chen Wei had gone. When we ran out, the campus was quiet. Chen Wei had disappeared. We did not know what to do. It occurred to me that Chen Wei might have gone to the old part of the hospital. We ran all the way there. The hospital was empty. No one was there. Moonlight through the lush leaves dappled on the ground. The empty road echoed with our footsteps and the sound of coarse breathing. When we were still far away from the morgue, we saw a figure flash and enter. A few of us still dare not walk past, not far away dilly-dallying. Several people wanted to stand in the darkness of the shade of the tree but were afraid and stood in the moonlight in the middle of the road and felt as if there was something staring at us in the darkness. At that time, I was really scared, and everything around me was quiet. Only a few of us could breathe. In the end, we tiptoed past. We moved to the door. A little hard to push the door crunch a sound, particularly harsh in the dark. We quickly held the door, quietly making no noise. We huddled together in the front hall of the house, where it was dark and the moon shone in cold, and we all crouched down to listen for a sound, but for a moment there was not a sound. I pointed to the second room, but they looked at me with fear, and I did not dare to go over, and finally discussed the past together. We went to the door, frightened. I just want to open the door. A roommate pulled me. I looked at him inexplicably. He nuzzled to me, motioned we had to leave the door. Said he, in his dread voice, "Shall we go round to the outside window? You can run away in case something happens." We walked around to the outside window and were all stunned. There was a muddy meadow near the window, and the moon shone silvery on the puddle. At that time, I don't know why, in the grass, there was a frog ghost that was full of food and nothing to do, and we were suddenly scared out of the body. The moon shone in the room, and we crouched quietly outside the moss-covered window, and there lay a bed, with a white sheet over it. The wind gently brushed the white sheet corner, and we shivered with fear. At that moment, the sheet was lifted by the wind, revealing Chen Wei's sleeping, shocking face. We suddenly turned around crazy, slippers, walking on the muddy grass, water flowers splash, a face of panic ran back to the school, a moment did not dare to look back. When we got to the bedroom, our hearts beat wildly, and we couldn't return to our spirits for a long time in the bedroom. Just as we were quieting down, we lit the candle, and in its flickering light, we could not speak in horror. When the door opened, Chen Wei walked into the bedroom, took off his clothes and shoes, and got into bed. All of us had glistening eyes in the dark. It took me a long time to swallow a mouthful of saliva. The next day, Chen Wei went to class as usual. We asked him, "Do you know what you did last night?" He said he didn't know. We had to be silent. We know that Chen Wei has been sleepwalking ever since he touched the dead man's eyes that day. The sleepwalker doesn't know what he's doing. It is said that if a sleepwalker is told about his sleepwalking, he will most likely become schizophrenic. What if one day we sleepwalk ourselves and do something horrible because of it?